Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome back to part 2 of the Patch Notes Point 4 breakdown, and today let's discuss the changes to the primary and secondary weapons along with some stratagem upgrades. So first let's talk about the Rocket Sentry. So the Rocket Sentry had decreased spread, prioritizes larger targets, increased target distance from 75 to 100 meters, decreased rockets per salvo from 2 to 1 to get better ammo economy. It increased explosion radius from 1 meters to 4 meters, decreased explosion armor penetration, so explosions can no longer damage heavy armored enemies, but the projectiles still have enough armor penetration to damage the heavy armored targets, and increased projectile damage from 200 to 300. So basically when I was using it in the game, it was a nice way to kind of kill the flying gunships and stuff like that on automaton maps, as well as it can take down chargers and Bile Titans pretty fast. I wouldn't rely on it to be your only anti-air capability, but I did use it like that for a couple games and it seems to work okay. It does take like 4 shots or so to take down gunships, so just be wary of that. So moving on, we got the Machine Gun Sentry, which had its cooldown reduced from 180 seconds to 120 seconds, which is really nice. You can feel it a lot better now, being able to call it down more frequently because it will run out of ammo pretty quickly. And on that topic, the Machine Gun Sentry, the Gatling Sentry, the Rocket Sentry, the Autocannon Sentry, the Mortar Sentry, and the EMS Mortar Sentry all had their durability increased from 0% to 80%. Moving on, the HMG Emplacement increased its rotational speed by 100%, so it feels a lot better now. I wouldn't say it's perfect, it's not like incredibly quick, but it does allow you to kind of swivel around pretty quickly, and it's more useful, I guess, in that way. If you're getting surrounded, you can indeed turn on them. The Anti-Personnel Minefield had a big buff, increasing its explosive damage from 250 to 350, so an increase in 100 damage on that. The Incendiary Mines also got a buff, increasing the explosion damage from 150 to 210, so that's about, 60 damage increase, which is really nice. Moving on to the support weapons, the Grenade Launcher got an increased explosion damage from 350 to 400, so that's an increase in 50 damage. The HMG is probably the best pick right now for automatons over like an EAT or a Quasar Cannon, because it has increased projectile damage from 100 to 150, increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 23 to 33%, and decreased fire from 450, 750 to 900 to 450, 600, and 750. It decreased its reload time from 7 to 5.5 seconds and increased its stagger strength. This weapon is a monster now, and you could really feel the decreased reload time when you're using this weapon. It's so much faster now. The damage is honestly incredible against bots. It can take down gunships if you shoot the engines really quickly. So I'm feeling like this is going to be a big meta. So make sure you try it out yourselves. The Machine Gun had its reload time decreased also from 4 to 3.5 seconds, and it has increased max amount of magazines from 3 to 4. Although it says that in the patch notes, in game you can see that it still shows 3 max magazines, so I'm not sure if that is a fault in the patch notes or if it's just a glitch in the game. We'll have to wait and see. The Machine Gun Sentry, the Gatling Sentry, and the Patriotic Exosuit Gatling all had increased projectile damage from 80 to 90, and increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 7.5% to 25%. The Liberator, the Stalwart, and the Guard Dog, the AR-23 Guard Dog, increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 10% to 23%. Honestly, for all the primary weapons that kind of increased the durable body parts damage, I felt like it didn't really feel any different. If that was the only change, I really wouldn't consider using it if it was bad before, because it didn't really get that much better. So let's just quickly go through some of the worst updated assault rifles, and then we'll talk about some of the best ones too. Alright, so again, the The AR-23 Liberator got its increased projectile damage against durable body parts 10% to 23%. The Liberator Concussive had its increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 23 to 35%. The Purifier had its increased projectile armor penetration to be the same as the Explosion, and decreased explosion damage fall off, but it still feels pretty bad, honestly speaking. Let's move on to some of the better updated and buffed assault rifles. The BR-14 Adjudicator had its increased magazine capacity from 25 to 30, which you can definitely feel, and increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 10 to 20%. You know how I feel about that. The AR-61 Tenderizer is now probably the strongest assault rifle you can use in the game right now. It got a lot of buffs, so it has increased projectile damage from 60 to 95, increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 10% to 17%, who cares, decreased ammo capacity from 35 to 30, so it lost 5 rounds, decreased number of magazines from 10 to 8, and increased stagger strength. I use this gun against bots and bugs alike, and you can really start decimating these things. Against bots, it's not as amazing, but if you shoot like their durable parts, like the rockets on the Rocket Devastators and like the battery pack on Hulks and stuff like that, you'll start to really rack up some nice damage. Against bugs, it's a lot better, being able to just shoot through heads and fleshy parts really easily. And honestly, it's really fun to use. It sounds great too. I think it's better than the assault rifle that just came out, the Carbine. I really feel like that weapon is very underpowered considering all the buffs that the other assault rifles got, but that's just me. Let's move on to some of the other cool primary changes. The explosive crossbow got some love this patch, increasing explosive armor penetration to be the same as the projectile, increased demolition strength, so now it can destroy bug holes and bot fabricator buildings, thank god, and it added a medium penetration tag. The Eruptor also got a bit of love, increasing its total damage from 420 blaze it to 570 damage per shot. Sniper rifle, not the counter, but just the normal diligence. Increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 10% to 25%. But again, anything that just changed, any of the assault rifles that changed just the durability damage, it really doesn't feel that much different to me. So I wouldn't really put your hopes up on those kinds of weapons. So that would be, again, your R63 Diligence had just that. The Plaz 101 Purifier got a bit more buffs, but it still feels pretty bad. The Liberator Concussive was normally pretty decent, and it got a slight buff, so maybe you'll see a little bit better there, but really it's going to be pretty similar. And the Liberator and the Stalwart, as well as the Guard Dog, really also doesn't feel too much different than they did before, but maybe I'm just not aiming at the right parts. And just to finish off, they also made a change to the recoil stance modifiers, so that would be your crouch, prone, running, and stuff like that. So the recoil stance modifiers, they made them more consistent and also reward being prone more. Almost all of them will improve the recoil, and only 2 have been made worse, and only by 10%. So they changed a lot, especially around the primary, secondary, and support weapons. I really think you guys should try out the heavy machine gun, as that thing is amazing. Also, if you're going to try out an assault rifle, definitely try out the Tenderizer. That's also going to be your bread and butter for a lot of these missions. Don't forget to try out the crossbow once in a while if you're going to get the throwing knife just for a vibe. And before I forget, they also introduced one last update to a support weapon. The Spear now has better targeting and faster targeting. The problem that was introduced was that it now no longer locks onto the bot fabricators, but the devs said that was not an intention and was just a mistake and a glitch, so hopefully that'll be fixed in the next patch. And also, if you've been playing on the automaton side of the Galactic War, you've found that there is a hidden kind of mechanic that they didn't mention in the patch notes. Now that patrols, especially gunships, will go around the map in search of enemies and fights. So if you make loud enough noises or engage enemies on the ground near them, they'll start to attack you. Well, that's it for this part 2 of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and you found some things interesting and you learned some cool hidden mechanics, and you're now interested to try some of the amazing weapons that they started updating and buffing. But if you did enjoy this video or found it helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please leave a comment in the section below, and I will see you in the next video.